lot of things in my day, I admit it. I don't take back what I say. If I said it, then I meant it. All my life I won a Grammy, but I probably never get it. I ain't never had no trophy or no motherfucking ribbon. Fuck the system, I'm that nigga. Bend the law, cut the rules. I'm about to risk it all. I ain't got too much to lose. Y'all been eating long enough. It's my turn to cut the food. Pass the plate with my drink. This my day. Lucky you, fuck you too. Woo!
The match flared to life, and Mikey, the hammer Palermo's face, came out of the dark, cut in half by orange firelight. He cupped it against his cigar, drew slow, and let the smoke crawl up through the shadows like a spirit that didn't know it was dead. He sat alone in a Brooklyn alley, rain dripping off the fire escapes, his voice low enough to sound like a curse. Brooklyn don't forgive, Brooklyn don't forget. The match hissed out, and for a beat, the world went black again. Then came the sound of a gun chamber sliding into place. A lonely apartment lamp flicked on, catching Lopez in the glass of his bathroom mirror. His FBI badge lay tossed on the counter beside a half-empty bottle. His eyes were hollow, haunted by ghosts he couldn't bury. He said it like a confession. We bury the dead, but the secrets they keep digging back up. The rain hammered harder. Across the river in Philly, Anthony Sessa stepped out to a bar with 2 soldiers at his back, his coat collar up against the cold. He smirked under the streetlight, dragged one last pull off his cigarette, and flicked it into the gutter. The glow died before it hit the water. Far uptown, Admiral Impeach sat in a penthouse suite with his new partner, the one they called the Frog. Between them, a steel briefcase snapped open, and blueprints spilled across polished wood, weapons, clean lines of power and death. Impeach's voice was soft, but it cut. Power ain't something you hold, it's something you sell. Church bells tolled. Slow motion, candlelight, black veils. Bambi Palermo walked down the aisle, her face lit by the flames. Her eyes were burning, her jaw locked tight. Beside her, Christian Zintilli leaned into the frame, silk suit gleaming, smile sharp enough to cut glass. His hand slid into hers, his shadow stretching long over the marble floor. Marriage, loyalty, betrayal. It's all the same game, Bella, he whispered, breath sweet and poisonous. She didn't answer, but in her sleeve a flash of steel caught the light. Elsewhere, Goku D'Angelo slammed his hand down on the table at La Tavola Nera, red wine leaping from shattered glasses. Nick Palermo stood at his back, fists tight, his face pale, eyes darting like a man boxed in with no way out. You betray me, Goku's voice thundered. You betray family. The world shattered in flashes after that. Supreme and Sydney moving weight through Kansas City, watchful eyes and tighter grips. Emily Winters staring down at her wedding ring in the mirror, torn in two by blood and vows. ADA Ian Wilson feeding paper after paper into a shredder, his office dark but for the sparks of destruction. Agent Caden Winters, pale and shaking, swallowing down pills in a bathroom stall, gripping the sink until his knuckles turned bone white. The bass of the city thumped like a heartbeat, low and dangerous. In a Brooklyn bar soaked with blood, Lopez dragged Mikey, the hammer, out by the collar, the fight still ringing in the broken glass behind them. Sessa leaned against a car, grinning as he wiped a revolver clean with his sleeve. Admiral Impeach snapped his briefcase shut. Zintilli's hand clamped over Bambi's face, tilting her eyes to his. His words dripped like honey, but his gaze was iron. In the end, he said, everyone belongs to somebody. Bambi's breath came sharp. Her hand tightened on the hidden blade. And then the screen went black, sound dropping out like a body hitting water. Silence hung, heavy enough to crush ribs. A single whisper cut through the dark. "This ain't just blood. This is Brooklyn bloodlines." The words bled across the page in your head like red ink spilled on old paper, and you knew season 2 was already moving. Bambi's twisted tales, the Phantom of the Opera, the mask comes off, the curse in the womb, before Paris, before the music, before the mask. There was Erik, born in a small village to a mother who couldn't bear to look at him. His face was a ruin from the start, skin sagging like melted wax, eyes sunken, nose barely there. Midwives whispered curses, priests called him demon-born. His mother, she called him monster and hid him from the daylight. He learned young, love don't come easy to freaks. Pity don't come either. What comes? Fear. Fear became his lullaby, his only teacher. Erik's childhood was a carnival of cruelty, literally. Sold off to sideshows, locked in cages, gawked at by crowds who threw peanuts and stones, laughing at the living skull. But while the world mocked him, he sharpened his weapons, his mind, his hands. He learned to build traps, design illusions, play music that made people weep. He learned the power of making an audience feel what he wanted. First, he was a freak in a cage. Then he became the one pulling the strings. He escaped, vanishing into the catacombs beneath the Paris Opera House. Down there, in tunnels that smelled of rot and candle wax, he carved a palace of shadows. Mirrors lined his halls so intruders saw themselves lost. Trapdoors dropped the careless into pits. Ropes hung like silent threats. And when the opera house rose above, with its chandeliers and velvet, Erik laughed. While the rich danced above, he ruled below. He wasn't no freak anymore. He was the phantom, the ghost king of stone and smoke. Christine Daaé, a chorus girl with a voice that could melt marble. Erik latched onto her like a starving man eyeing bread. He whispered through vents, sang in her dreams, tricked her into believing he was an angel sent by her dead father. She believed. That's what makes it sick. Innocence is easy prey for a manipulator. He taught her, molded her, raised her up, but not to free her, to own her. Every note she sang was another thread in his web. The opera house tried to ignore him. Big mistake. Erik made his demands in red ink notes. Pay tribute, cast Christine as lead, or face the consequences. They laughed. That night the chandelier came down like judgment, crashing into the crowd, screams, fire, bodies crushed. Smoke curled through the hall while Erik's laughter rattled the rafters. From then on, every performer, every manager, every patron looked over their shoulder. The opera house didn't belong to Paris anymore. It belonged to the Phantom. Enter Raoul. Noble blood, Christine's childhood sweetheart. He was soft compared to Erik, but he had something Erik couldn't fake. Love without chains. Christine lit up around him in ways she never did for the Phantom. That was poison in Erik's veins. In Erik's eyes, Raoul wasn't just competition. He was theft. Theft of the illusion. Theft of Christine. Theft of power. And thieves, in Erik's law, they got buried. Erik struck mid-performance. Lights dimmed, smoke curled, and Christine was gone, swallowed by the stage. Screams filled the balconies. Down in his lair, Erik showed her the truth. Torches flickered, mirrors warped her reflection. His organ thundered a dirge that shook her bones. And then, the mask came off. Flesh scarred, lips twisted, eyes burning. "Look at me," he snarled. "Love me." It wasn't a request. It was a demand, backed by ropes and knives and the threat of Raoul's death hanging above her. Christine trembled, heart splitting in two. Erik offered her the cruelest deal: stay with him in darkness forever, or watch Raoul die slow. She begged, she pleaded, but Erik was stone. Monsters don't negotiate, they manipulate. The opera above roared, but in the lair below, silence was the only answer. And then Christine did the one thing Erik never expected. She kissed him. Not a kiss of love, not surrender, but pity. Brooklyn breathes through shadows. You can hear it in the subway tracks, smell it in the steam rising off the manholes. And standing in the middle of all that weight, Nick Palermo. He wasn't born into an easy name. His father, Frankie Palermo, left behind more enemies than friends, more blood on the sidewalk than ink in the ledger. When Frankie got clipped, Nick learned quick. Brooklyn don't give you mercy, it gives you tests. And every day since, he's been proven he ain't the type to fold. Nick ain't a loudmouth. He's the quiet storm. The one who listens, calculates, then moves when it hurts the most. With his godfather, Goku D'Angelo, whispering wisdom, and his sister Bambi tied to him by blood and fire, Nick's motivation is simple. Keep the family alive, keep the legacy strong. But loyalty, it cuts both ways. And betrayal, it's the tax every Palermo's got to pay. You'll see him out there in the Pine Barrens, shovel in hand, doing what needs to be done when the world's eyes ain't watching. You'll see him sitting in back rooms, staring across the table, deciding who lives and who disappears. Nick Palermo's got the kind of weight you don't measure in muscle, you measure it in resolve. And now, the streets are heating up again. Deals are being cut, alliances tested, and ghosts from the past are crawling back into the light. Brooklyn bloodlines, family is forever, and Palermo, that name don't die easy. Season 2 coming soon. That kiss hit him harder than any blade. For the first time, the mask shattered in his head. He wasn't angel, wasn't genius, wasn't king. He was just a broken man in a cave, starved for something he'd never deserve. Tears cut through the grime on his cheeks. He let her go, freed Raoul. And in doing so, sealed his own fate. Christine and Raoul fled into the light. Erik disappeared into the tunnels. Some say he died there, rats gnawing his bones. Others swear he wandered off into the night, mask in hand, waiting for another stage, another victim. But one thing's certain, monsters like Erik never disappear. They wait, they watch, they haunt. The opera house rebuilt, curtains rose again. Patrons clapped, singers sang, money flowed. But under the boards, every groan of wood, every flicker of light, every whisper of air carried a memory. The phantom ruled once. And fear leaves scars deeper than fire. Moral of the story: you can dress up cruelty in music, hide it behind masks, drown it in pity, but monsters don't change. Power built on fear crumbles the second it's exposed. And the sharpest blade ain't hate, it's pity, 'cause pity makes tyrants see they ain't kings, they're just broken men. And that's why, paisans, you stick with Bambi and the Pizzaverse. We rip the masks off the phonies, we don't glorify monsters, and we tell it like it is, raw, bloody, and true. Subscribe, hit that bell, and remember, the Pizzaverse don't miss.